and it splashed down sheltered brooks and canyons. It spoiled and deep-rooted lands. La 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 la. Spilling its color in the eyes of life and laughing on frown mouths, telling its interliving stories now and then throughout. La 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 la. Red wine's color will change with the heart. Each beat starts renewing. But when the flower pierces the mind, then things are worth undoing. La 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 la. La 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 la.
Just really makes me happy to see everybody who's here and to be able to come up in front of you and share some of what has been very important and meaningful to me. I had a bunch of those. So thank you, first of all, for being here. I really appreciate this community and each one of you that I've gotten to know and the collective wonderful energy that comes when we gather together, when we come home on Sundays to this place of being Unity of Walnut Creek. So today I'm talking about lighting the torch, and it's really about lighting the torch of the soul. This was my work during, from 2002 to 2008 or 9. And I think what happened was David saw me talking about it, and he saw how I lit up when I talked about this work. And so he invited me to come here and speak today and to share some of what my work was this afternoon in a workshop. And I've been blessed for the last 30 years to be continually working in the field of transformation. Different settings, different people, but over time the theme, the work has always been the same, to find processes and ways and situations that help people to take that next step into more life, more love, more freedom, to open, to become excited, to literally light the torch of the soul from the inside out. And so I'm always looking for new ways to help this to happen. But this particular process that I'm doing today is one that I've done literally with hundreds of people from every culture, and it always works the same, which is why I get excited about it. So lighting the torch is actually getting into your heart's core and bringing that out into the open and doing it in such a way where it becomes the centerpiece of your life. Everything else is structured and built around that. So that instead of kind of being buried away or tucked down or on a back burner, what really matters the most comes right up front and center. We all have a yearning to somehow do that, but we don't really quite know how to make it happen. We get caught up in life, in duties, in all the stuff that we're all so familiar with, and it seems like what really matters most just kind of gets buried underneath all of that. So if you really want to transform your life and light up your soul, you need to bring that out and have a way of making it real. David last week talked about some of the things that get in the way, pet peeves. You know, we get angry or we get fearful or filled with righteous indignation, where it becomes more important to be right than to be connected. And we do this. We all do this. I certainly do it. But how do we bring ourselves back? How do we come back home, back to the center, to the place where that little pilot light of spirit is burning? Because until we bring it the oxygen of our attention and our love, it can't burst into flame. Easy to talk about, not so easy to do. As I was thinking about this and what brings us back, there was a song, a chant we used to do in my church all the time. I tried to get Mirabai and Steve to do it this morning, but I gave them like 2 seconds notice, so next service. But the words, I won't sing it for you, but I'll tell you the words. And the words are, I am open and willing to allow the Christ to express in me, through me, as me. I am open and willing to allow the Christ to express in me, through me, as me. One of the things that Unity really brought to me was this new understanding of the Christ. Having been in traditional Christianity, the teaching there was that there was one Christ, and that was Jesus. But in Unity, the Christ is a state of being, it's a state of consciousness in which we all are participants. And in Jesus' words, he said this too, what I do, you will do and more. But that was a kind of a revelation for me, that the Christ was actually a state of being that was accessible to me and to everyone. So, how do I get there? How do I recognize it? What is it like to embody the Christ in what I do, who I am? Well, to me, that the Christ is that state of being in which there's no past, no future, where we step out of the story. You know, we've all got a story running about who we are and what our life has been about and how the world is and what's going to happen next and, you know, yada, 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 yada. And it is. A lot of it's yada, yada. To behold the Christ within, we need to step out of the story. Just for a moment. But when we can do that, when we can really come into the moment, when we can come home, then things start to change. And so I took a moment to identify some of the things that I recognize when I'm able to do that. First of all, in that moment, my heart knows no boundaries or limitations. There's no lack, there's no limit. Secondly, I feel enfolded, accompanied at every moment by the presence of love. I can feel that I'm never alone. And many, many hours of every day, I'm not aware of that. But in those moments, I feel it. I know it. In those moments, I experience a sense of integrity, of wholeness with myself, that I am in alignment with who I am and what really matters for me, that I'm kind of on my path. I see you nodding, so you know what I mean. And I also experience a lightness of being, the kind of elation or freedom that comes with, it's all good. It's perfect in this moment. However it is, it's perfect. Perfect for me. And as a result of that, I'm at peace. There's nowhere I have to go, no agenda, nothing I need to fix or change or heal. Nothing needs to be more or better or different. I'm at peace. That's, to me, being in the presence of the Christ. So, let me shift my pages here. It was easier when I did this every week. You know, I'm a little out of practice. Thank you. So, as I think about how do we access that moment, I go back to the song, I am open and willing to allow the Christ to express in me, through me, as me. What is the way that we get there? Well, first of all, we need to stop. We need to shift our focus to enter into a state of prayer, meditation, contemplation, to be still, to enter that stillness. And that is an act of choice. It doesn't happen by itself very much. We have to actually choose to do that, to make that transition. When I was traveling in Turkey, every mosque in Turkey has a large fountain out front. And the devout, before they enter the mosque, they wash. They wash their eyes, their nose, their mouth, their ears, the head, hands, feet. And then they leave their shoes in the entryway so they don't track the world into their sacred space. But the washing is a way of making that transition, of washing away your usual relationship with life and preparing yourself to enter in to a holy space. So whatever transition works for you, first of all, we have to come into the moment, letting everything else go. Secondly, we need to appreciate, to recognize the bounty that has been bestowed on us. how rich life is. And it's not just rich with what we want, it's rich with everything that we need and have needed in order to grow as spiritual human beings. So taking that moment just to be grateful opens the heart, makes us willing to allow something new to come in, because we already know that we're blessed. The next step, if we're going to really take what's in the heart's core and bring it into life, is we need an ally. I think one of the biggest deceptions is the idea that the spiritual journey is a solo journey. We don't get there without each other. We need each other to recognize our own wholeness and uniqueness, because we don't see our own blind spots. That's the definition of a blind spot. We don't see where we stop ourselves or how we give ourselves away. So we each need an ally, someone who can say, hello, what are you doing? Where did you go? Come back. This is not what you said you wanted. And finally, we need a plan. We need a framework. We need something that tells us where we're going and lays out some steps and processes for how to get there, so that we're not just wandering all over the landscape hoping to end up in the right place, but we actually have intention and direction and can recognize and acknowledge our goals as we reach them. Okay? So, when we can take what matters most and put it at the center of life, we light up. The Christ begins to express through me, as me. And there's some stories I wanted to share with you. Where am I time-wise? Whoa. Quickly. First of all, my husband. When we first moved to California in 1979, 1980, back in there, one day we were sitting on the couch in the living room, and he was all lit up. All lit up. He had a vision for what he wanted to do. He wanted to open a body shop. He wanted to build custom cars. He wanted to restore old cars. He wanted to build hot rods. You know, custom paint, custom everything. And he was just full of this idea. And I'm sitting there at the other end of the couch and going, we've got 4 kids. We've got no money. You don't know how to do body work. But I had more. All real world, very practical, you know. But what do you think was happening to him while I was being practical? Yes. The light was going out of his face. The air was going out of his body. He was just kind of collapsing into the corner of the couch. It was like endarkenment was taking place. I call it dreamicide. And I saw what was happening. That was the gift of the moment. I was in the moment enough to see what I was doing. And I stopped myself. And I said, you know what? This is what lights you up. I have no idea how you can accomplish this, but I will do everything in my power to help you make it happen. I don't want to kill your dream. I don't want to kill my dreams. I don't want to kill the kids' dreams. I want to be that presence that supports and helps it to happen, even though it seems impossible. And do you know, a month later, he opened his body shop on Monument Boulevard in Walnut Creek, And then later we moved to 3rd Avenue in Walnut Creek, and he built hot rods and Cobras and show cars, and he lived his dream, the dream for that portion of his life. So, one more quick story. When I was doing trainings with financial planners on life planning, which is what I'm talking about, there was a man who came to one of the trainings, and he had been in a similar position to what Reverend David's been in the last 3 years. He had been in the leadership of the national organization over a 3-year term, and he'd been traveling the world, away from his business, away from home, and he was just now coming back. He was 50, his wife was 40. They were talking about if they were ever going to have a child, it had to be now. And he was sitting in with his partner. I was listening, observing. And I heard him tell a story about how he and his wife in their marriage had had this wonderful experience where they both loved horses. They lived in Dallas. And they had gone to a corral where they kept their horses one night in the middle of the night when there was no moon. And the sky was pitch black, but they were in the corral with 30 horses, and they knew every horse just by its presence. And they had that moment of communion with each other and with the horses that had somehow become the cornerstone of their marriage and their relationship. But with his travels, they hardly even saw the horses anymore. And he was just saying to his partner, gosh, I would love to have a place, out in the country, but it's going to be at least 5 years, maybe longer, before that's even possible. And I just put up my hand and I said, nope, sorry, 5 months. 5 months. Oh, but, well, of course, he had 1,000 reasons why it would never work. But I knew about Dreamicide. So I said, nope, 5 months. Talked to him 2 weeks later. They had found a place 45 minutes from the office, out in the country, 200 acres with a pond, 3-bedroom house, corral for the horses, and his wife was pregnant. 5 months later, they were moved in. So, his little girl's first word was cow. But sometimes you can just hear that this is the core, this is the heart's core. And it doesn't matter what the obstacles are or what you think about it. It just needs to be. And when he got that message 5 months, he lit up. I didn't do anything, but he opened up and was willing to allow the Christ to express in his life, in his marriage, in his being. So that's what I mean by lighting the torch of the soul. So, we don't just do it once. As life goes on, things change. And so we need to come back and revisit periodically what comes next, what lights my torch now, what gives me that sense of freedom and joy today. I don't need to know how I can make it happen. I just need to know what needs to happen and to know that it can happen much faster than I would ever think. Okay? So, I think that's it. If you want to see how it works, come to the workshop this afternoon from 2 to 4:30. And together, we will become open and willing to allow the Christ to express in us, through us, as us. Thank you.
Thank you, Reverend Susan. That is exactly what I needed to hear today. If you would like prayer support for challenges or celebrations, please ask our heart ministers. They will be available after the service here in our sanctuary and on the patio. Our heart ministers are wearing the lavender stoles. You are also invited to place a prayer request in our prayer box by the front door or in the book center, or by selecting prayer request button on our website. We will be praying with you throughout the week. It's time for our prosperity celebration. For Love in Action or credit card donations, there are envelopes provided in the back of each chair. I invite you to take your tithe or offering in your hand and be aware that God is the source of all of your good. Repeat our affirmation with me together. Divine love through me blesses and multiplies all that I am, all that I have, all that I have, and all that I receive.
Is all there is, circling round the wheel. I am that I am. Only love is real.
Dream into the perfect silence, where the sunset meets the moon. Misted towers of all memory, ancient lessons done so soon.
Love is all there is, circling round the wheel. I am that I am. Only love is real. Let the harmony of nature fill your heart with song. Let the rhythm of compassion last your whole life long. Love is all there is, circling round the wheel. I am that I am. Only love is real. 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 Only love is real.
In the light.
help me in blessing our children. Children. We give thanks for these offerings and we dedicate them to increasing the consciousness of love in our world. Please stand and hold hands and join me in the prayer of protection and the peace song. The light of God surrounds us. The love of God enfolds us. The power of God protects us. And the presence of God watches over us. Wherever we are, God is, and all is well. And our peace song.
So let your light shine and have fun.
Oh, good morning.
Good morning.
This is God.
This is God.
I will be handling all your problems.
All your problems today.
I will not need
Good.
your help in any way. No way. So have a good day. Have a good day.
Hi.
Have a good
Thank
day. Have a good day. Oh, good evening.
Good evening.
This is God.
This is God.
I will be handling all your problems tonight.
All your problems tonight.
I will not need your help to make things all right. So have a good night. Have a good night. I hope you sleep tight. Have a good night. Stephen. Be still and know that I am God.
And I am God.
Once again, I will be handling all your problems today.
All your problems today.
I will not need your help in any way. No way. So have a good day. Have a good day. Have a good day. Have a good day. Have a good night. Have a good night. I hope you sleep tight. Have a good night. Have a good life. have a good life, have a good life, have a good life, after life, after life, after life. After life. Thank you, Walnut Creek.